Hi, my name is David Carr, and this is my project for Foundations of the Restoration. I chose the project to focus on the construction and reconstruction of the Nauvoo Temple and the miracles that really wrap around that. Now, earlier in this project, through the PowerPoint, I've explained the construction of this temple and the importance that it played in church history. And now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the miracle of the reconstruction of this temple. Now, this story has a little bit of a different setting, and what I really chose this project for is when we talked about in class, we talked about primary, secondary, and other types of sources that we can get. And so my family has a little bit of ties with this story, and so there's a lot of primary and secondary sources that play into this. So the first story that I heard was from Elder Thacker and Elder Gifford. So the Nauvoo Temple was destroyed and it was sold off. And these missionaries were serving their mission in 1948, so much after that, in Boron, California. And these missionaries felt very inspired to go and knock on a door. So they knocked on this door, and the family was pretty disinterested with the church. They didn't have much interest, yet they sparked some interest with these missionaries. They were a less active family that were familiar with the church, and the man, by the last name of Weeks, brought down a plan from the original Nauvoo Temple. Now, the missionaries didn't recognize that right off the bat, but as they grew to know the importance of this, they went back to Salt Lake and brought those to the church headquarters. Now, this is where the story gets a little different. In my family, I have a great uncle by the name of Easton Blake. Now, Easton Blake has a different side of this story. So his story is that he was the missionary that knocked on the door. He was serving his mission in Boron, California as well in 1948. He went and he felt very inspired to knock on this door and knocked on the door. Now, the difference in this story that really helps us believe more of this story is the background of Easton. Easton was 26 years old when he went and served his mission, and he had a firm background in construction. He had worked construction his whole life and was very confident in it. So when this man Weeks brought out these plans, Easton quickly identified the importance of these plans and took them back to the other missionaries. Now, he brought those plans to the other missionaries so they could take them home because Easton still lacked a lot of his mission. So those missionaries went back to church headquarters and they brought those same plans. Now, this story is a little bit more accurate. We've interviewed several people, and although Easton and his wife and these other two missionaries have now since passed away, we've interviewed secondary sources that were very close to Easton to get to this point. So we've interviewed Lisa Moeller, his daughter, his son Gary Moeller, his grandson Michael Moeller that was very close with his grandfather, his brother Gilbert Blake, and Lamont and Billy Carr, his brother and sister. And all these stories have kind of come together to build this story, to really have all the complete details about how he got the plans, gave them to these other missionaries, and that's why they're accredited for most part. There is one paper through BYU that they did some deep research that Easton actually is accredited for the find of these plans. Now, the story doesn't end here. Easton, farther on in his life, was called to serve on the construction team for the Tennessee Temple. And so as he's serving as a senior couple with his wife, they're working on this temple in Tennessee, and he gets a call from church headquarters. Now, church headquarters was looking into the possibility of reconstructing the Nauvoo Temple. And at this time, they knew Easton had a little bit of knowledge, but they didn't know quite how much he knew. So they asked him about the sides that they didn't know of. They had some picture evidence of some of the temple, but they didn't know much about the north or the east side of the temple. At this time, Easton remembered that these plans he had found during his mission, that he had sent them with these other missionaries. And so based upon that knowledge of which missionaries he sent them with and the time period, the church was able to recover these from their records and use these same records to start the Nauvoo Temple. Now, Easton helped out a little bit with that temple and really set forth the plan to rebuild this temple. So in 1999, they announced the reconstruction of this temple thanks to the plans that Easton had recovered during his mission and then helped recover it again. And in the 2000s, this temple was finished and dedicated. And the beautiful part of that story is that Easton, this was his last present before he passed away. He was able to pass through that temple and have a special guide through that temple on the miracle that he had really found those plans and that the Lord had guided him on his mission to have such a great reconstruction of the Nauvoo temple. Now that's the story. We've gone through many secondary and primary sources to get to that story, much research, and that's truly the miracle of the reconstruction of the Nauvoo temple.